In the ancient city of Cyprus, around 300 BC, there lived an extremely wealthy merchant called Zeno. During a voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus, his ship sank, taking all his precious cargo with it. This unexpected event, which was beyond the control of Zeno or anyone else, meant that this very wealthy man suddenly found himself in poverty. Now put yourself in Zeno's shoes for a moment. How would you react to seeing all the fruits of your labor disappear due to the forces of nature? What would be the appropriate response? Would you feel indignant, sad, or cheated by life? These reactions are natural for most of us, but not for Zeno, the founder of Stoicism. A small change can have eternal consequences, and a small change in mentality can lead to more significant and impactful transformations in the future. The essence of Stoicism lies in accepting and remaining indifferent to external events. After studying the works of Socrates and other great philosophers, Zeno developed and taught Stoicism. According to him, although we have limited control over what happens to us, we have total control over how we choose to react to these events, and we must exercise this control effectively. Instead of lamenting over spilt milk, or in his case, sunken goods, Zeno focused on maintaining calm and composure, even in the face of his difficult situation. In modern times, Stoics are often mistakenly seen as unbreakable individuals, people who rarely experience extreme emotions such as anger or anxiety. However, the original concept of Stoicism goes far beyond this. Stoicism was a way of perceiving, describing, and understanding the world. It was a way of life that lasted for centuries. Stoic philosophy remains relevant today, just as it was thousands of years ago, with its profound benefits. Stoicism allows us to process the negative emotions resulting from adverse experiences and transform them into thoughts that give us a unique perspective on the world. Perspective is everything, and every person in the world has different experiences, which results in different points of view. The Stoics gathered, debated, and taught philosophy in public places because they believed that their principles could benefit everyone, regardless of their social position. For them, it was illogical to hide this knowledge behind the walls of schools or palaces. Thus, slaves and emperors alike had the opportunity to learn and become Stoics, and many did. Among the notable Stoics were Epictetus, whose name means acquired because he was once a slave, Seneca, a renowned statesman, and Marcus Aurelius, a powerful Roman emperor. The early Stoics practiced what they preached, actively opposing all forms of segregation and fighting against inequality. They even coined the term cosmopolitan, which literally means citizen of the world. Initially, women were not allowed to devote themselves to philosophy. However, the Stoics vehemently disagreed with this notion. Musonius Rufus, Epictetus's teacher, said, "Not only do men have a natural desire and inclination for virtue, but so do women. They find pleasure in noble and just actions, just as much as men do, and reject those that are contrary." If this is true, why should it be appropriate for men to seek out and explore how to live well, that is, to practice philosophy, while women do not? Even at a time when it wasn't popular, women could freely learn about Stoicism and become Stoics. So why do so many people adopt Stoicism as a way of life? In a world full of unexpected twists and turns, our emotions can often get in the way. In fact, we don't get sad just because bad things happen to us. We get sad when we are surprised by negative events. For example, rain is beneficial. It nourishes our plants, provides water for livestock, and keeps the temperature cool and humid. However, when we are outdoors without an umbrella, this experience becomes unpleasant. So why don't we start crying as soon as it starts to rain? This is because despite the unfavorable situation, we have learned to predict rain. It's an inevitable event, and we have no control over the weather. Although it can be uncomfortable, the rain eventually subsides and the sunlight returns. Stoicism teaches us to expect that everything bad that can happen will happen. We should imagine the worst possible outcome and find contentment in the knowledge that it could happen. One of the Stoic exercises, known as voluntary discomfort, seeks to increase feelings of gratitude. It involves sleeping on the kitchen floor, taking cold baths instead of hot ones, or eating only potatoes for a few days. Through these experiences, we come to understand that no matter how challenging life is, we can still survive and even thrive if our mindset is right. By going through these uncomfortable situations, we are indirectly preparing our minds for future misfortunes. In the same way that we only value our health after we get sick, for too long we have taken health for granted. And in today's world, where advertising constantly bombards us, we are led to believe that we can only be happy if we have the latest and greatest things, if we look a certain way, or if we earn a certain amount of money. This message is more relevant than ever. Stoicism reminds us to defy these external pressures and find happiness within ourselves, focusing on what really matters in life. When we are born, we have limited knowledge about the world, As we grow up, we learn from various sources, such as our families, schools, and personal observations. However, these sources often provide us with their different perspectives and teachings. The question then arises, do we need to internalize all this knowledge? If we do, we run the risk of setting unrealistic expectations for our lives, which can lead to disappointment and dissatisfaction in the long term. This is not the way we should live. Instead, we should focus on self-development for our own sake. We should act for ourselves, without attachment to external hopes or secondary attachments, as these often lead to disappointment. We often try to fill the emptiness inside us with external things. We might spend money on a luxury car, a spacious house, or depending on the situation, even build a family. Sometimes we seek these things for their external value, rather than their internal value. However, Stoicism teaches us that if we approach life in this way, we are putting our happiness in the hands of external forces that can easily fail us. Cars can break down, natural disasters can destroy entire cities, and divorce rates continue to rise. Even the free things in life come at a cost, the cost of physical and mental space. As Seneca once wrote, learning to live with less will create space in your life for the things that really matter to you. Therefore, we should anchor our happiness in our intrinsic value as human beings, and not in what we physically possess or can acquire. We should strive to maintain a composed mindset, regardless of the challenges life presents us with, because ultimately we have no control over most of the events that happen to us. However, we do have complete control over how we choose to react to those events. This is the essence of the dichotomy of control, the most fundamental principle of Stoic philosophy. As Epictetus convincingly stated, the main task of life is simply this, to identify and separate the things that are under our control and those that are not, so that we can clearly tell ourselves which external things we cannot control and which have to do with the choices we do control. We shouldn't base our self-esteem on external factors that are beyond our control, but rather on the choices and actions that are within our control. Setting goals and striving to achieve them is commendable, but getting upset when things don't go according to plan is considered futile in the Stoic perspective. For example, creating YouTube videos may not be as challenging as being a Roman emperor, but it still presents its own obstacles. From conceiving the idea, researching, writing the script, recording the audio, in this case my biggest challenge, editing, creating the thumbs and titles, subtitling, and even uploading. These aspects are all within our control. However, once we click the upload button, the power passes to YouTube's algorithm. Many people evaluate the success of their YouTube channels or Instagram accounts based solely on views, subscribers, or followers, metrics that are beyond our control. Stoics advocate a different approach, in which success is evaluated based on the effort invested and not on the result linked to external expectations. Of course, we have to take into account effort in the right direction, such as good ideas, voiceovers, and editing, because there's no point in doing something anyway and believing only in the effort and time spent. But anyway, I think you get the point. Trust the process. Living with less means freeing yourself from the social restrictions we impose on ourselves. Imagine someone who has worked diligently at their job for the last 6 months and believes they deserve a promotion. This person approaches their boss with their performance report, but instead of receiving the promotion, the boss just thanks them. They go home feeling inadequate, without considering that the boss might be in a bad mood, that another candidate might be more qualified at the time, or that the company might be facing financial constraints. Even without knowing the exact reason, she gets upset. If this person had valued the quality of the performance report they submitted and continued to work towards their desired promotion, they could have experienced greater overall happiness. With the right mindset, their goal would not have been diminished, only postponed. This change in perspective is crucial. A true Stoic doesn't evaluate his success solely on the basis of the financial gains of his efforts, but finds solace in the knowledge that he can lead a fulfilling life without depending on material goods that money can buy. Alex Hormozi, an American businessman, has a very good take on this. He argues that people should develop skills that are of value to society rather than just wanting a financial return. That way, even if you lose all your capital, you still have the skills to rebuild. Stoicism encompasses 4 main virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom involves the ability to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not, and the power to choose our response to external events. As Viktor Frankl insightfully stated, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. Courage can be summed up in 2 words: persist and resist. It involves persevering in the face of challenges and resisting temptations that impede our progress. Temperance, or moderation, can be exemplified by doing more with less, saying more with fewer words. Although people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk can compete for the top spots on the Forbes billionaire list, Stoics believe that true wealth lies in having only what is essential and finding satisfaction in having enough. Justice is considered the most important virtue of all. It teaches us to avoid harming others because we were born to benefit each other, not just ourselves. An inspiring example of Stoicism in action is Nelson Mandela, the renowned African leader. Despite spending 27 years in prison while fighting apartheid, Mandela did not seek revenge when he was released. Instead, influenced by the fundamental values of Stoicism, especially those found in the works of Marcus Aurelius, he urged his people to forgive, rebuild, and focus on creating a better nation. Mandela emphasized that they could not change the past, but they could strive to move forward and build a brighter future. This exemplifies the Stoic approach to adversity. In modern medicine, Stoicism serves as the basis for therapeutic approaches such as rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, and logotherapy. REBT helps patients identify and challenge negative thought patterns that contribute to emotional and behavioral problems. By using logic to examine the reasoning behind these negative thoughts and recognizing their lack of foundation, people can replace them with more productive and healthy beliefs. Logotherapy, meanwhile, is based on the Stoic principle that human beings are driven by a sense of purpose. Even in the bleakest circumstances, we can find meaning and happiness by discovering our unique purpose in life. However, this process is not without its challenges and requires reconfiguring our thought patterns and adopting new perspectives. To find happiness and solve our problems, we need to cultivate self-esteem. By shifting the focus from external factors that are beyond our control to the things we can control, we can free ourselves from worrying about the uncontrollable and lead a happier, more satisfying life. Stoicism guides us through turbulent times, helping us to navigate the storms of the past and present towards calmer, more peaceful waters. And if our ship sinks and we face our death, we can find consolation in the fact that we have lived a good life, even if not as long as we had hoped. But while we're living them, it's ideal that we can be our best selves while we're here. And for that, although people see it as something extremely bad or even punishing, it is a freedom. Stoics are disciplined, and that's what brought them real freedom in their lives. Click on the video and see right now how to have this freedom through Stoic discipline.